of you and thank you. Last time we had seen that at the end of their education, all these disciples or all the 105 students of Dronacharya, the 505 princes, were called to give a demonstration of all that they had learned during those so many years. And invariably, starting with Yudhishthir, almost all of them selected one weapon of war with which to give the kind of proficiency they had attained during the studentship at that Gurukul with Dronacharya. Of course, they were all very proficient, they were all very good. But the thing to be noted was that they all had something to do with a weapon of war. Arjun was the only one who, instead of showing off his skills as a weapon of war, he had posted, if you recall, a wooden boar, and immediately, within a flash, he took 5 arrows and shot sealed the lips of that wooden boar, signifying that he had complete control over the 5 senses. These 5 senses also, incidentally, represent the 5 elements of which the entire universe is made of. That is the earth, water, air, fire, and ether or sky. So thereafter, he gave a demonstration of control over these elements also by first creating a fire, and then he, with another arrow, he brought a rain cloud. With yet another arrow, the cloud started raining, and finally, when the fire was doused off, he directed the wind to blow away all the cloud and the smoke that was there. It is very clear proof that he had control over the elements also. Just before, however, before Arjuna was being declared a winner, in stepped Karna, as you had seen earlier, and Karna had challenged him to show to demonstrate that he was better or Arjuna was better. Before the challenge could be accepted, Kripacharya intervened and said that introduction of the bodies was required. And that virtually scuttled the chances of Karna, because Karna was none other than the son of Adirath, non-Kshatriya. And as a prince, he could not be fighting with Kshatriya. And Duryodhan at that time given him the kingdom of Anga and said that henceforth you'll be king of Anga, so that you can in future always challenge Arjun and combat with him. Once the education was over and they'd given a demonstration of their powers, the next step was the Guru Dakshina. Dronacharya told these people that since your education is over, you're required to give the Guru Dakshina. And if you recall, immediately Duryodhan said, yes, you name what is your price, or what is it that you want? I'll fill your bag with gold and silver. To which the Dronacharya replied that gold and silver are of no use to a Brahmin. Normally I ask for a go, but this time I will not ask for a go because the circumstances are different. I'll only ask you to go and battle out with Drupad and bring him captive to me. Now that normally the demand of go does not mean that he wants a cow. That go means that he should demonstrate his ability to control the senses or to mastery of one of the scriptures. So, but in this case, the students were all very, very elementary. They had not reached that stage, excepting Arjun. And therefore, Dronacharya had said, you go and have battle out with Drupad. Drupad means one who is convinced that there's only the body and there's nothing other than the body. On the other hand, when they went to fight with Drupad, who was led by his daughter, who was the chief general of the army, she managed to defeat Duryodhan and his brothers, and they came back defeated. That meant that these 105, 100 brothers, Duryodhana's 100 brothers, they were still convinced that there was nothing other than their body, and they were not convinced there was something else. When Arjun went there, Arjun alone managed to defeat the Drupad and brought him back captive alive. This was a victory for Dronacharya. Dronacharya stood for duality. Duality means that in addition to the human body, there is some power, there's something more than the human body, God or whatever you might like to call it, spirit or something. When that was also over, the Guru Dakshina had been paid. Now, Guru Dakshina, normally the Westerners have translated it to mean that it's a kind of fee which the Guru demand, but it's not a fee. The Guru Dakshina really is kind of a thesis or a treatise these days which the graduating students are given, and which they give rather. And it is there to demonstrate the kind of knowledge which they have acquired and to bring laurels to their Guru. So Eklavya, who was asked by Dronacharya to give his right hand thumb, which means he was that Eklavya was being told that you remove the Guru, your physical Guru. You don't need a physical Guru. You're already a enlightened soul. And this the Guru, physical Guru which you have kept, the statue which you have built, that is holding you back. So when you remove it, you'll progress beyond the duality and you'll come to unity. You'll realize completely, thoroughly, once for and all. So that is the Guru Dakshina. That's the meaning of Guru Dakshina. That is the kind of Guru Dakshina which this Dronacharya had been demanding. In case of Arjun too, Arjun went there and defeated Drupad, which means he had proved that there is something other than the human body, that there is something spirit or God or whatever you might call it, consciousness, which is other than the human body. Once this Guru Dakshina was also over, it was time for to decide the crown prince, because now no more education was called for, and all the princes, the 100 the Duryodhan and his brother and 5 Pandav brothers, they're all brought back, that all come back to the kingdom, and there the Dronacharya said that you may appoint the crown prince. The moment this proposal came there, their uncle who was there, Vidur, he said, as per the tradition of the Kurus, only the most able and the most capable person, most righteous, he should be made the king or the crown prince, so that after the death of the king, the crown prince becomes the king. To which the Kul Guru, Kripacharya, he agreed, and Bhima and Bhishma also agreed to that, being the eldest. Once this was agreed to by these 3 people, great, Dhritarashtra, much as he would have liked Duryodhan to become the king, was now bound, and so he could not do anything. Accordingly, Yudhishthir was anointed the crown prince. Now, who is a crown prince? A crown prince is one who is fit in every respect to be the king, and he needs a certain training, little bit training, on the on the job training, to finally take over the king when the time comes. Accordingly, Shakuni, he connived and told Duryodhan that you go and tell your father that this Yudhishthir, the crown prince, should be sent to Varnavrat. So Duryodhan went to his father and Dhritarashtra and said, why don't you banish him to Varnavrat? Immediately, Dhritarashtra turned back and said, no, you can't banish that. That will be, first of all, it will be wrong. Secondly, the elders would never agree to it. And thirdly, all the people will revolt. How can you banish the crown prince from this place? He said, no, the Shakuni then intervened and said, no, it's not the question of banish. You see, those people in Varnavrat, they're having a lot of, and it's very far away from our kingdom, Kurukshetra. And therefore it is necessary to let them know that you are not far away. You may be far away physically, but we do care for you, and that is why we are sending the crown prince to you, so that all your grievances can be attended to him, attended by him. So this proposal was very acceptable to Dhritarashtra, because he said, and Shakuni also said, there's a festival of Pashupati coming there, and if the people are there, the people will celebrate it in the presence of the crown prince. They'll be doubly happy. When Bhishma came to know about this plan, he said, yes, this is a good idea, but not only you can send the crown prince, we can send the crown prince along with 4 brothers and his mother also, so that the whole family can be there. And it will tell the people that the center is also, it's just like Delhi and Northeast. Just like Delhi, sometimes the people from the Northeast, they feel cut off from Delhi. So they said in the same manner, people of Varnavrat will feel that they are no longer alienated, and they are very much part of the empire. So the whole, the crown prince Yudhishthir, along with his 4 brothers and mother Kunti, they were asked to move there, and they proceeded towards Varnavrat. Varnavrat really means the land we are living in. The earth that we have got there is Varnavrat. Varna means the land of the caste. Varna means color, and what means the tree. So from that we derive that it refers to the land in which we are living. So when they went there, then Shakuni told Duryodhan that now is the time to take some drastic action and get these people out of the way completely. So what he suggested was that you send one of your trusted architects who will build a palace for them there very quickly, because by the time the people reach from here, they'll take some time. Meanwhile, our man can go there and start building a palace for them. And Shakuni then called his architect Purochan and told him that you have to build a palace, such a palace that could be set light very quickly and take the whole palace can catch fire in a moment. Purochan was up to the job, and he built a palace made out of Laksh. That Laksh palace was very beautiful. Of course, nobody suspected what it was, but because this was quite secret. But nevertheless, Vidur, he got some inkling that something fishy is going on, and he tried to inquire what it was, and then found to his great dismay and surprise that they were planning to get rid of the whole family. So on his own, he quickly sent one Takshak, a miner, and told him that you must construct a tunnel so that from which these people can escape. So the miner went there, and while the palace was being built and ready for them, the miner also was there working silently underground. From the banks of the river to the palace, he dug a tunnel, and as the palace was ready, so also the tunnel. And once these people came to settle there, then Purochan told Yudhishthir and his mother Kunti that I am the caretaker and I have to look after your welfare. So please don't hesitate to call me for anything. I'm just living in the wing in the same palace in another part of the palace on the caretaker's quarters. But please don't hesitate to call me at any time of day or night, and I will see that you are made comfortable. And he, of course, as per the instruction of Duryodhan and uh, Shakuni, he ensured that all these people are very, very comfortable. Now, they continued living there, but Takshak, meanwhile, came and told, secretly he met Yudhishthir and told him, not only Yudhishthir, all the 5 brothers and his mother and their mother Kunti, that Vidur had sent him and told them that there is a plan to get rid of all of you by setting the house of Laksh on fire, and so that you all get burnt, and then they can nobody will suspect them also because they're so far away. So he has said that these people should be all of you should be asked to run away from the palace through a tunnel which is provided, which I have built. When Kunti heard this, that Duryodhan and Shakuni were planning to kill them, she said, this place or whatever it is not good. Not only here, even Hastinapur is not worth staying there. let us all move to the forest. In the forest where your father was there, we were all very happy. So he eventually died there, but we were very happy as long as we were there. And all of you were born, in fact, in the forest itself. When you grew up, your first 4 or 5 years were there in the forest itself. And it's a good place to be there. So, and once we are out of the forest, nobody will know. Then nobody will come to know that we are still there, and they will carry on at Hastinapur as they want, and they'll be happy, and we'll be happy. So one day, uh, Bhim, therefore, at night, quietly decided that this is the night when we shall all leave, and we'll set the house on fire and disappear from the through the tunnel. When all the four brothers and Kunti were there safely in the tunnel, and Bhim went with a torch and set the entire house on that palace on fire. As chance would have it, and then he from the tunnel he also escaped. As chance would have it, that day particularly, Prochan was entertaining some of his relatives who had come over. His aunt plus his four cousins, plus five children that come over, five brothers that come along to see Prochan. Prochan was entertaining them in his wing of the palace. But when the fire when the palace was set on fire, it caught fire so quickly. The fire spread so quickly that nobody had time to run away. And all these five brothers, plus their aunt, plus the Prochan, the 7 people, were all killed in that fire. When the news reached Hastinapur, Dhritarashtra was very sad, and so was Bhishma, so was Dronacharya and Kripacharya, but nothing could be done. As far as Vidur is concerned, although he did not know specifically what had happened, but he was quite sure in his mind that since he had sent Takshat, they will be able to lead them away from the fire, and they'll be all safe wherever they are. So he just kept quiet. Anyway, after the fire at Hastinapur, it had become necessary once again to identify the crown prince. Another, all the Rajguru, therefore, now this time there's no other challenge. So Duryodhan was therefore declared the crown prince. In the absence, now Yudhishthir was supposed to be dead, and all the other four brothers were also supposed to be dead. So the most deserving person turned out to be Duryodhan, and that's what Dhritarashtra was also wanting. So very quickly, Duryodhan was anointed the crown prince, and Dhritarashtra was very happy because he now had formally been, at least his son was formally announced to take over the kingdom, things which he could not do because he was only an ad hoc or a temporary king holding charge on behalf of his father, on behalf of his brother. These five brothers and the five brothers and Kunti, after they escaped from the house of Laksh, which was burned down, they came down to that river edge, where the Takshat had also provided a boat. And in that boat, all these five brothers and their mother, they took that boat and went to the village called Ekchakra. At their village, they were looking for some place to stay when a Brahmin befriended them and said that since you people are strangers here, you can come and stay in my house. It's not very luxurious, but you will be happy to have you. Since they had no other place, they accepted his hospitality and stayed with them. As chance would have it, a couple of days later, they were still they wanted to know who they are. So these people, Kunti and others, said that we are just Brahmins also. We are moving to some place where we can get some kind of employment or some kind of something to look after ourselves. Anyway, so till such time we'll be your guests. Otherwise, we'll leave this place and as early as possible. As luck would have it, there used to be one man-eating demon called Bakasura. This Bakasura in past had really ravaged the entire countryside, and the town people had been, several of them had been killed, and a lot of their properties and things had been destroyed. So the town people had come to an understanding that every day somebody will go to and give him his food, a cartload of lunch to be provided to this demon. Also, once a year, he will be provided with a live meal with some man or something who is to be given to this demon Bakasura. It happened that during this time, it was the turn of their host, the Brahmin, who was supposed to provide not only the food to be sacrificed or would be given as lunch to the demon. Now, this Brahmin was the only breadwinner. There was only his wife and a daughter. And therefore, in that small family, there was little gloom because they didn't know what to do. And the wife, especially, was very, very upset. The Brahmin was upset not because he was going to lose his life, but he was upset because he had guests there and he would not be able to take care of them. And he would also not be able to take care and fulfill his duties towards his wife and daughter. So he was also a little upset. Kunti sensed this, that there was something wrong in the family. So he inquired, pestered the wife and they pestered the Brahmin, and finally got it out of them that it was his turn to act as to present himself as a sacrifice along with a cartload of food for consumption by the demon. Then Kunti said, "Oh, this is a very small problem. Don't worry. You don't have to go there. I'll send my son." This Brahmin thought that she wants to sacrifice her son instead of the Brahmin, and said, "No, no, that's not acceptable to me because you are my guest. I cannot allow my guest to be sacrificed. I'll go there I'll go there in my turn, and but you cannot certainly go there. I will not let uh, my name and this be soiled." But finally, Kunti managed to convince him that Bhim was a very powerful and strong person, and very easily he will be able to kill the that Rakshas, that demon who was there. So Bhim took that cart and waited on the village edge near the forest and waited for that demon to come for his lunch. When the demon did come over, Bhim and the demon, they both started fighting. They had a big fight. But Bhim was very strong, and finally he managed to not only overpower the demon, he managed to kill the demon also. And that way, the entire village was rid of the curse of the demon. But that would also mean that people will want to come to know, will come to and ask the Brahmin, who are these people who had come there? Who are these? And their secret of that they were Pandavas. They will be out, and immediately there will be repercussions at Hastinapur, which they didn't want. They wanted the Hastinapur to be at Hastinapur. Everybody should believe that they are already dead, so that no attempts will be made to kill them any further. Anyway, so then they came back. When Bhim came back, Kunti told the Brahmin that, look, you can announce to the people that once some Gandharva has come who has managed to kill the demon, and we will now go. It's time for us to go because otherwise they'll inquire who is that Gandharva, where is he, etc., etc. And we don't want people to be prying into us. So accordingly, the five brothers and their mother, they left that village Ekchakra and went to another place into the forest eh, where hopefully they'll not meet anybody. In the forest, they lived for a couple of days. And then one day, the they lived in that forest another demon called Hidimbi. Hidimbi was again a man-eating demon, and when he smelt the human, he told his sister Hidimba that, look, today we are going to have a feast. I can smell some humans have entered the forest, my forest, and if they have entered there, they have to pay a price. So catch hold of one of them and bring them here. We'll have a good meal today. Hidambi, Hidamba, when uh, she was told by her brother that she has to go and bring that the human being to him, she went there. When he came across that powerful Bhim, she fell in love with Bhim and forgot all about her errand to her brother. Her brother Hidambi kept on waiting for his sister to come back with a meal for both of them. But when she didn't come, Hidambi went and to investigate what is the matter. When he came there, he found again this uh, team was sitting there comfortably, enjoying his meal with his brother. Then he wanted to catch hold of one of them and devour them, but Bhim intervened, and he got into a fight with the demon Hidambi, and he managed to kill him also. Once this Hidambi had been killed, then his sister Hidamba told his mother Kunti that look, my brother has been killed. He was my he was the only one upon whom I could depend, and he was my sole provider. Now you have to do something about me also, because who is going to look after me? So better it will be that your son marry me, so that I will have permanent somebody to look after me. So on Kunti's instruction, therefore, uh, Bhim got married to Hidamba. Now these are all metaphors. The first metaphor was the house of Laksh. Laksh stands for a sealing wax, which is red in color. At normal temperature, that wax is at hard solid. But the moment you heat it a little bit, it melts and it becomes soft. If you heat a little more, it melts, and if you heat it still more, it will catch fire catch fire very readily. And it was this out of this sealing wax that the whole house had been made. Very beautiful house, but nevertheless, the material used was lux or the sealing wax, which would have which takes catches fire immediately. Laksh also means 1 lakh, 100,000. And in those days, 100,000 was a huge amount, very, very large amount. You can understand a couple of thousand years ago. 1 lakh means it was about more than 10 billion, $1 billion antilla in Bombay, something like that, or even more than that. No, it should be more than that because that was the most, absolutely beyond measurement. That was the ultimate house that couldn't be made. Anyway, this what happens is that when the Yudhishthir was made the crown prince, and Vidur had said that it should be as per tradition of the Kurus, only the most deserving should be made the crown prince. Then Duryodhan didn't like it at all. He said, "What they are talking about Kuru tradition? Our great grandfather Shantanu had made a solid promise to my great grandmother's father that her children only would be made the crown prince. And as per that, Vichitri and Chitrangan had been made the king. And after that, my father should have been king, but for Vidur's connivance and his strategy had worked. This time again, he has done the same thing. And I have been deprived of my right to become the king. I should have been the crown prince, and after that, the king. His uncle, Shakuni, couldn't agree more. He said, "Yes, I entirely agree with you. It is what they call the Vidurniti, which has triumphed once again. But we have to do something about getting rid of them." Now, whenever the demonic forces will try to find some reason for doing whatever, all the terrible acts which they do, they have some reason, they justify somehow. In this case also, they wanted to get rid of it. So they said that they built a house of Laksh. That house of Laksh really, as I mentioned, it was to corrupt the through money, because House of Lakshmi is a very, very expensive house. It was through money that you are going to corrupt this and destroy the character of the uh, whoever is the person they are targeting. In this case, in our case, it means the spiritual aspirant. So through money, they wanted to corrupt in the demonic forces. They generally utilize money to corrupt the spiritual aspirant, because money will build in a lot of egos. Not only a lot of egos, they'll, the most important thing is also that it makes them insensitive to the pain of the of the others. It makes you selfish. It makes you insensitive to the pain of others. That is, in fact, and when you become insensitive, you're not able to judge or rather feel what is the other person, the problems of the other person. You cannot empathize with them. On the other hand, if you are sensitive, your sensitivity can be so great that you can start feeling not only the pain of the human being, but also the pain and the problem of the birds and trees and all these kind of animals also. In fact, very recently there was uh, a picture of a Spanish matador who was fighting a bullfighter who, as in the bullfighting in the ring, in the arena, the matador, they entered there along with the bull who had been really trained to fight there. And it's a big spectator, but invariably the bull is killed by that bullfighter as it keeps on tiring it out and finally keeps on inserting one sword and the sword to three, four swords, and one of them will pierce the heart and kill that bull. So uh, this bull in that picture suddenly stopped and looked at this bullfighter. I forget his name, and as if telling him that I'm not going to fight with you, I'm not going to kill you, and if you want to kill me, you can kill me, but I'm not done you any harm. But in any case, I don't want to fight with you, and I don't want to kill you. But if you want to kill me, you can kill me. That's it's. He had become very sensitive, this bullfighter, and he could feel this is what he was being coming told through his eyes, through the eyes of the bull. From that time onward, he stopped bullfighting at all. Now, this is what happens once you're becoming sensitive. And in fact, the one of the monks I remember, God Gopal Das, he had said somewhere in one of the videos which I had seen that when he had just joined as novice, when he was only 21, after his college, he decided he will not go study any further, not take up any job, and he'll become a monk. So he joined the ISKCON as a novice. And there, as a novice, he was supposed to do all his work, not only cooking, etc., but even washing his clothes. So one day, while he was washing, he wanted to wash his clothes. He had soaked his clothes in the bucket, and he had, which was away a little from the tap. Then those days, if you recall, there was no washing machine. So the soaked, this thing had to be taken out, and the bucket had to be taken again under the tap. And when the running water was there, it will remove all the soap. So instead of taking by hand, he just kicked the bucket until it reached uh, till it came under the tap. A monk who was watching, a senior monk who was watching him, he looked at him and looked at this new novice, and told him rather sternly, "What are you doing?" So our God Gopal Das, who was then a novice, said, "No, I'm washing my clothes." He said, "Yes, I can see that, but what are you doing?" "No, I'm just pushing the bucket under the tap." He said, "That I can see you brought the bucket under the tap. What are you doing?" He could not understand. He said, "No, I'm sorry, I can't understand your question." He said, "Why are you kicking that bucket?" So he said, "Oh, it's only a bucket. What's the big deal?" No, it's a big deal. You're becoming very insensitive. In the first thing in spiritual development is that you have to become sensitive to everybody. If you become sensitive to non-living things, and if you become sensitive to animals, birds, etc., then only you'll become sensitive to the human being. And that is one of the requirements. You have to become very sensitive to human being so that you can feel what their needs are, what their demands are, what are, that we can identify. Anyway, that's a good lesson he had learned. And this is what happens in that house of Laksh. When the demonic forces, they want to corrupt us, they want to make us not only our ego, not only they want us to divert from God, but they want to make us insensitive. So we have to watch out all spiritual aspirants. In fact, all of us, because whether we like it or not, we are all spiritual aspirants, and we have to be very careful and not get let the demonic forces. How do we become insensitive? At home, for example, or on the street side, when you go, you find people spitting there. Now that you're becoming insensitive to the the footpath where you're spitting, because we treat that footpath as if it's of no consideration. But the real spiritualist will not agree there, and he will ensure that even this footpath has to be taken care of. If you recall, in the very beginning, I said that everything is, the entire universe is made out of Purush and Prakriti. When Purush consciousness and Prakriti nature, when Purush starts interacting with nature, then Prakriti generates a form over a small, tiny fragment of Purush. That form can be of anything. It can be human form, it can be animal form, it can be bird, fish, or whatever. It can be trees, it can be river, it can be rock, it can be water, it can be lake, it can be mountains, it can be anything. The important thing is that in each of these forms, whether it is rock or a water body or a bird or an insect, all of them have a tiny fragment of Purush in it. They are in fact alive. This modern science today is not yet mainstream. They do not accept it is life. But as per our thought, these things are also alive. That's why we have to be very sensitive to these things also, and that is why, in fact, we worship all of them. If you, some of you may know that Kedarnath, the lingam there, is not some statue or some such thing. It is the peak of the mountain itself that is being worshipped. And of course, we all know that Ganga is one of the most sacred rivers which we worship. So for us, all these things, we have to be very sensitive, not only to human beings, but to every creature, not only to every creature, but to trees and even the rocks and the what we call these days, inert matter also. And coming down to the Ekchakra. Ekchakra means that village Ekchakra. Ekchakra means Ek is one, and Chakra means a wheel. One wheel. A wheel is something that goes round and round. And Ekchakra in that sense means one who is thoroughly confused, one who does not know whether there is God or there is no God. And sometimes he says there is God, sometimes he says there is no God. And in this village, or on the outskirts of this village, lived a demon called Bakasura. Bakasura is another metaphor. It stands for Bak means is a heron, a bird, which keeps on chattering continuously. So the demon Bakasur is any person who keeps on chattering continuously. Of course, chattering means talking, but it also refers to our mind, the chattering mind. If you see, all the time, whether we like it or not, we are all the time, 100% of the time, something we keep on talking to ourselves. Most of it is meaningless, but it continues. The chatter continues, and a spiritual aspirant is required to stop this continuous chatter. This we do by various sadhanas, by either by meditation or by diverting the mind to God, or by taking out some other service, the best service service to some uh, person. The best, of course, is service to somebody, and you become so busy and so occupied that you leave no time for all straight thoughts to come into your mind. So, destruction of Bakasur is the first demon that we have to kill. Now, talking alone, if you see that it really indicates who has got a lot of ego. If in any talk, if you find somebody talking, all that talk which is there will be, I did this, I went there, I saw this, I prepared this, I did. It's always about I. Very seldom, if it is somebody also, then yes, I did it for so and so, who's my relative, or I did something or so and so, and I guided him, I directed him. Like that, it will keep on going on. So this kind of talk is very not only useless, but it is in fact harmful for a spiritual aspirant, and it's not advised. It's not desirable. The other thing, of course, is chatter. Or chatter also, which keeps on going on in the mind. How to stop that is a big issue, and there are various techniques have been done. There are various techniques have been specified. One of them, of course, is meditation. The other is uh, watching your breath. You keep watching your breath coming in, coming out, and you concentrate on it. And what happens that you've got no time to watch your thoughts. The thoughts automatically they keep becoming silent and silent, or becoming less and less. Till eventually, what will happen is that the time interval between two thoughts becomes so large that virtually all thoughts have disappeared. So this demon Bakasur is the second, first demon we have to kill. Although we have to be wary of that house of Lakshya, as I told you, because insensitivity is involved there, ego is involved there, and diversion from God is involved there. The third one, when after Bakasur, they went to the forest. In the forest, they crossed that demon Hidimbi. Hidimbi means attachment. It refers to attachment. Now, if you see or if you recall that I had said that uh, Bhim, he managed to kill the demon Hidimbi, but he ended up marrying his sister Hidimba. What does this mean? It means that although attachment, it's not easy to remain detached. You may you may forego attachment to something, but something else you will get attached to something else. And this is what happens all our life to all of us. Attachment can be, of course, to property, which is classified as, which is called possessiveness. It can be to people, which is infatuation. It can be to ideology, dogma. It can be to uh, habits, which is addiction. It can be to power, perversion. Like that, attachment could be to anything. Now, if you see in this Mahabharata, in this thing, Dhritarashtra was very attached to his son. His son was Duryodhan. Dhritarashtra, of course, means possessiveness, and Duryodhan means material wealth. So he was very attached to, infatuated with his son, Duryodhan. Whatever Duryodhan wanted, he